know that feeling when you get a brilliant idea? A question that just kind of hooks into your brain and won't let go? And you think, how do I turn this into something real? Well, it's not magic, and it's definitely not just for people in lab coats. It all starts with one absolutely crucial step: crafting the perfect research question. Seriously, don't think of it as some boring, formal thing. Think of it as the architect's blueprint for a new discovery.
So, yeah, that's the big question, right? How do we build something solid and meaningful out of just pure curiosity? How do we bridge that gap from the initial spark to a real, structured investigation that actually uncovers something new?
Well, it really comes down to this. You need a plan. You need a blueprint. And in the world of research, that blueprint is your question. It's the North Star for your entire project. It tells you exactly where to look, what tools you're going to need, and how to make sense of everything you find. It's what turns a vague interest into a puzzle you can actually solve.
So, if the question is the blueprint, how do we draw it up? Well, every good researcher has a toolkit, and today we're going to crack it open. Inside, you'll find three main tools for building knowledge, and each one is designed for a very different kind of job. We're talking quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. Okay, before we just grab a tool, we have to understand the two main philosophies here. On one side, you've got quantitative research. Its whole mission is to measure, to count, and to make predictions using the language of numbers and statistics. And on the other side, you got qualitative research, which is all about exploring the deep, messy, human meaning behind our experiences. So think of it this way. One is all about the numbers, and the other is all about the story. First up in the toolkit, we have the quantitative measuring tape. This is your tool for precision. You pull this out when you need to measure relationships between things, compare different groups, and test a very specific hunch or theory you already have. If you want to know how much, how often, or to what extent, this is your go-to for sure. Now, here's where using this tool gets really clever. A huge part of quantitative research is something called the null hypothesis. You can think of it as the ultimate skeptic in the room. It's the starting assumption that nothing interesting is happening. No effect, no relationship, absolutely no difference. Your entire job as the researcher is to gather so much evidence that you can confidently walk up to that skeptic and say, "Sorry, but you're wrong." So you basically set up this epic clash. The null hypothesis, the skeptic, is over there saying, "Nope, nothing to see here, move along." But your actual prediction, which we call the directional hypothesis, steps up and says, "Oh, yes, there is. And I predict it's going in this specific direction." Something like Group A is going to score higher than Group B, or as this thing goes up, that other thing is going to go up too. Okay, theory's great, but let's make this real. Here is a super simple fill-in-the-blanks script for a descriptive quantitative question. You use this when you just want to measure and describe one thing. For example, what is the frequency of social media use for university students in this study? See? No predictions, no big comparisons, just a clean, precise measurement.
Now let's level up. This second script is for when you're ready to make a real prediction. This is what we call an inferential question. For instance, it is predicted that there will be a relationship between hours of study and final exam scores, such that more study hours will lead to higher scores. You see the difference there? You're not just observing, you're defining the key players and you are calling your shot. All right, let's put down that measuring tape for a second and pick up our next tool, the qualitative magnifying glass. This is the tool you grab when you want to zoom way in, not just measure from a distance. With this, you're not testing a theory someone else already came up with. You're exploring an experience or a culture to build a new theory from the ground up. And this tool has a really elegant structure to it. You start with one or two huge, broad central questions. That's your main target. And then you break that big idea down with about 5 to 7 really focused sub-questions. It's like you're changing the lenses on your magnifying glass. Each one gives you a slightly different, more detailed view of that same core subject. And this example makes it totally clear. The central question is massive and open-ended. What is the campus climate toward diversity? The sub-questions then zoom right in. What are the student attitudes? What's the administration doing? What about the campus police? Each one is like a mini investigation that helps build this rich 360-degree picture of that one central idea. So, what are the secret ingredients for a good one? Well, great qualitative questions almost always start with what or how. This keeps the door wide open for discovery. You actually want to avoid asking why, because that kind of tempts you to look for one simple cause and effect answer. And
let's be honest, reality is usually way more complicated than that. Instead, you lean on these powerful exploratory verbs like discover, understand, explore. They signal that you're on a journey, not just checking a box. And here it is, the master template. You can pretty much build any powerful, central, qualitative question from this basic structure. For instance, what is the experience of remote work for new employees at a tech startup? It perfectly defines what you're exploring, for whom, and where. It's basically your launchpad for deep, deep understanding. And now for our final and most versatile tool, the mixed methods Swiss Army knife. This is what you reach for when one tool just isn't going to cut it. It promises the best of both worlds, right? You get the precision of the quantitative measuring tape and the depth of the qualitative magnifying glass. But, and this is a big but, using it correctly takes a special kind of discipline. Here is the crucial detail, and honestly, it's the one thing most people get wrong about this. A true mixed method study is not just grabbing some numbers and then telling a few stories. No, it operates on a very strict three-question rule. Not one, not two. You absolutely have to have three. So what are the three? Well, first you need your standard quantitative question or hypothesis. Second, you need your clear qualitative question. And third, and this right here is the secret sauce, you need an integration question. This is the one that forces you to explain how your two totally different sets of data are actually going to talk to each other. And that is the key. This third question isn't about your topic, it's about your method. It asks something like, what new insight am I going to get by layering the survey results on top of the interview themes? Or how will these personal stories help explain that surprising statistical pattern I found? It's the question that creates synergy, where 1 + 1 actually equals 3. So there we have it. We've opened up the researcher's toolkit. We've handled the measuring tape for precision, the magnifying glass for depth, and the Swiss Army knife for that full, comprehensive view. And as you can see, choosing the right tool is everything. It all depends on the kind of blueprint you want to create. And just to make it super easy, here's a final cheat sheet for you. Just look at your goal. If your goal is to measure and predict, and you find yourself using keywords like impact or compare, boom, you're in the quantitative zone. If your goal is to explore and understand, and your language is full of words like discover or describe, you are firmly in qualitative territory. And if your goal is to integrate both to build a more complete, layered picture, then you know you need that mixed methods approach. It all comes down to what kind of knowledge you're trying to build.
So there you have it, the fundamental tools for turning any question, any curiosity, into a genuine investigation. The research question isn't just some formality you write on a piece of paper. It's the master plan. It is the very foundation that all discovery is built on. So the only question left is, now that you have the tools, what blueprint will you design?